Hello dear viewers, here I am again in free nature, which inspires me to think, to reflect and patiently formulate things that I hope make sense. I first want to apologize for not making any videos in this series of filioque. Since a few weeks, the situation in church has become very strange. And therefore I've decided to write rather than make spontaneous videos. You can find some of my articles on the website of EWTN Low Countries. It's a Dutch website, but you'll find some publications in English too. That's where I've left my thoughts of these last weeks. What has happened in the advent of this year, in the run-up for Christmas, we've seen two very strange publications of the magisterium of the Church. Ad Theologiam Promovendam, which means to promote theology, and the other is Fiducia Supplicans, which has something to do with asking something in confidence. It's about the blessing of homosexual couples. Now these two articles are very strange because they are two examples of deconstruction. And before pointing out that, I would like to point out that what I found most startling is the moment that these articles were publicized. Why are two articles that discuss topics that are so important to the synodal path, why do they appear several months before the synodal path, before it ends, before the conclusions of the synodal path are published? It's as if the writers of these two documents, which is Pope Francis himself, with Cardinal Tuccio Fernandez, the head of the dicastery of the doctrine of the faith, as if they have lost patience. Somehow they get bored with this synodal path, the synod on synodality, and they publish the conclusions that they want anyway. If you look at the content, you see that in the document about theology, Ad Theologiam Promovendam, theology actually doesn't have any meaning anymore. There's talk about a synodal theology, which is more like a political program, and I would say a political program which looks more at collectivism than at the human person, the human acting person. It's a collectivist program in which theology seems to be decided by the gathering of people, the synod, which is very strange because in principle a synod is a coming together, a gathering for something. If you have a synod of theologians, it is because they believe in the same theology. It's not because they have to think up a new theology. It's the history of the chicken and the egg, or that's what it becomes. No one knows what is first. But just like any reasoning must be initiated by some premises, by some principles, by some primordial truth, any reasonable synod must start with dogmas that are part of the revelation of Jesus Christ. So theology really precedes a synod. And a synodal theology is a bit of a strange term. It seems as if the mere concept of theology is being deconstructed. And when you read the document, that's actually what is confirmed by the rhetoric of this document, which is mainly political. I would say it's like the political program that I have to transfer, I have to make propaganda for, but I don't have to understand it. It's a very mysterious document. And then, of course, we have the publication of Fiducia Supplicans, which has received much more publicity, and in a way is also an example of deconstruction, because there is talk, it's actually the key argument, that a blessing doesn't have to be ritual. Now the thing is that a blessing is a ritual. It's a special ritual that is maybe not prescribed, but it is traditional. It is something that must be recognized by people as being a blessing, as being a ritual. And the blessing is a special ritual where, through the word of the servant of God, who doesn't have to be a very good person at all, but through the word of the servant of God, who has this mandate, this divine mandate, he transfers something of the fatherhood of God, which is fruitful. A blessing is like a very general, unconditional mediation of divine fatherhood, which communicates something of divine fruitfulness, where God needs to be respected as the creator of all things, the creator of nature, the creator of our free soul, but also where, because God has created nature, we must recognize that God respects nature because he has created himself, and so in the blessing God must be respected, nature must be respected. Now if you take away the fact that a blessing is a ritual that must be recognizable as such, both by the one who asks for the blessing as by the one who confers the blessing, if you don't recognize that objective meaning, then anything can be a blessing. I can greet my hamster in the morning and wish it a good day, and that would count as a blessing. And I could sneeze towards the north, and that will be my blessing of the winter. A non-ritual blessing is a non-entity, it's a contradiction. There is no meaning. The meaning has passed to the beyond. A non-ritual blessing is an ex-blessing. I don't know, but unfortunately, when reading this document carefully, I had to think of Monty Python's parrot sketch, the dead parrot sketch. But there's one much more troubling thought that came across my mind. If the one who asks for the blessing can give his own meaning to what the blessing means, that means the one who gives the blessing has to completely adapt himself to the subjectivity of the moment, the feeling, the emotion, the point of view of that moment of the one who asks for the blessing. It means he has to satisfy a complete subjectivity of the other. Now, the only place in the world where you'll find this kind of scheme is in prostitution. In prostitution, the client demands a human being, a human person, to completely satisfy his own subjectivity without any objectivity, without any objective truth that will answer to something else. there's no reality. There's only this subjective world of the demander, of the client, that needs to be satisfied. So in fact, what the document does, it legalizes clerical prostitution. And I'm sorry, but I cannot call it otherwise. When more comes out of it, when the consequences of these two documents are more clear, no doubt I'll start making videos again. But for the moment, I feel powerless. I am only capable of writing quietly now and let my thoughts develop while holding in a pen and writing on paper. I want to end with the clear statement that I believe this Pope is the Pope, and therefore I'm connected with him by obligation, by obedience. It is my duty to question. It is my duty to question until clearness is given. Saint Peter has a successor to clarify where there is doubt. Not to create more doubt, create more confusion. And if he does so, it is only a charitable act to ask him for clarification. There's a lot of aspects, although I don't know him personally, but there's a lot of aspects of his personality that I feel solidarity with, that I feel sympathetic to. But what's happening now is absolutely catastrophic. And it might be a catharsis, it might be a purification of our church. But it can only take place really if we continue to question in a charitable way, what do you mean? And if we ask, maybe more urgently, if we ask Cardinal Tuccio Fernandez what he means with this book that he wrote, the mystical passion, which is quite obscene. I stopped reading some published passages of this book because I found it too disgusting. Now, Cardinal Tuccio Fernandez has said, as the highest authority of faith in the Church, he has said that he did not want the book to be spread because of wrong interpretations of his text. Now that is very, very strange, a strange thing to say. What he means is that he doesn't regret the text, but he feels sorry for us because we are too stupid to understand it. He did not want the book to be interpreted incorrectly. So please, Your Eminence, tell us what is the correct interpretation of this book. We might be more smarter than you think we are. And also, now that it's published, we would like to know, do you feel sorry for it? And if you don't, please explain. And if you feel sorry for it, I can only say generously, join the gang. We're all sinners. We've all done things that we deeply regret. And as soon as there is regret, there is also the solidarity of brothers and sisters who will pray for you. Because we're all in the same war. The war against evil. The war against the intrigues of Satan. And we all get embroiled every now and then by Satan's intrigues and his tricks. Together we'll get through. Because the church is the Church of Christ. And nobody else can say he is the head of the church, because Christ is the head of the church. And we should also remember that and that's the conclusion, in the traditional rites, whenever you commemorate Peter, you also commemorate Paul. And if you celebrate Saint Paul, you always mention also in the prayers Saint Peter. It's almost the old Roman tradition of the two consuls, Peter and Paul. they are really the representatives, both of them, of Christ. Maybe something similar to the law and the prophets. Anyway, to have an authority in the church and to be an authority always implies a cooperation of passionate questioning to find out who is Christ and where do I have to go, where do I have to follow the Lamb.
Thank you.